are now listening to United 96 Podcast on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network. Welcome in, everybody, to a special midweek edition of United 96 on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network. I'm John. As advertised, Ted is on assignment or vacation or whatever, but it's just me, and I'm here with DC United once and former and current DC United, Chris Durkin. Chris, thanks for joining, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get started. I think, almost all of most of our listeners are from the new era. So they will have seen you at Audi Field. That's sort of just the way that our listenership is. So they will have seen you before you left. Talk about your time. First of all, talk about what really led you to want to test yourself overseas, or in Belgium specifically, or just overseas. What was sort of your mindset as you were, either trying to find minutes or just wanting to sort of improve your national team chances or whatever it was?
Yeah, it was a lot of different things, a combination of everything, really. I was a young kid, 19, eager to get more minutes than I thought I was getting at DC at the time. And I didn't realize going over to Belgium that it would be 6 months until I really found the field, but my intentions were to go over, get minutes, get European experience. And I knew that the Belgian league played young players. I knew Sint Truiden had. But yeah, I was just looking forward to a new experience. And what I got from it was so much more than I expected. I got a lot of, things outside of soccer as well. Just, developing more as a human being, as a person. And then it continued to translate into soccer and learning more about, their league, their culture, and, making myself a better player as well.
Did you give Griffin a heads up to be like, hey, it may be a few minutes, it may be a couple weeks before you're in the 18, man? Did you tell him your experiences?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's not going to be easy for Griff. The nice thing for him, though, is it's a permanent move for him, so he doesn't feel necessarily the pressure of it being a loan move, and every game is a tryout, basically, is what I felt like when I was in Sint Truiden on my loan period. I still felt like it was a trial for basically 6 months, and he'll have the peace of mind to know that this is his club for however long he signed, and he can go right away and have no pressure, I think.
It seemed, well, I bring him up because it's interesting. It's sort of very parallel. Griffin had a hard time staying in the 18. He got his opportunities occasionally, but didn't really maybe get the amount of games you need as a young player to really build confidence and sort of establish your place. If I recall, sort of the same for you. You had like a few games in, a lot of games out, and it was just trying to develop. And it was, there was 9,000 defensive midfielders on the team at the time. That's always been sort of the case at DC United. They just, except for now. I mean, now we're building them. Now we're getting some more of them. But it's that's always been a position of depth. What do you think that says? Obviously, everyone's situations are different, but that you were able to find DC United was open to finding you a place, and with you it was a loan option to buy, but with Griffin, giving players the opportunity to say, we love you, we think you're great, we have minutes for you right now, we might in the future, but I understand you wanted to go somewhere. Was that a good? Did that openness to your move make it more likely that you were able to return later on, to keep that sort of positive door open for you?
Yeah, it's never easy as a young kid as well. You're so emotionally invested. You still have your parents around at that time that are trying to help out as well. It's just not easy. And, the feelings of it all might not always feel like, oh, it worked out for everybody. And in the end, I think it did. For DC United, Sint Truiden, and me, it all panned out really nicely for all of us. But, while you're going through it, there's just so much you have emotionally invested. But, to have DC United to let me go on loan, and then to have them financially compensated, I think, pretty well by Sint Truiden to make it permanent. I think it was great, and it's great with Kevin. It's great with Griffin now. It was great with me, and I think it continues to show that there is great opportunities available if you do well with your chances in the MLS. And it continues to look like more now that even more young players are going to get opportunities here within the club now with Wayne. So I think it's a great example for young players that these moves can happen if you take your chance when you get it.
Is it a struggle as a young kid that comes up through the academy, local kid, went to the games as a young guy, probably thought about playing for the club as when you were that age? Is it tough to like realize that it's a business at a certain point too? How quick does that happen? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I want to come up, I want to play for this team. This is going to be my team. Maybe you've got far off ambitions later down the line, but like, if does it feel like the assumption from the outside is like that maybe like this is a business and I'm going to be moved on like an asset or whatever
Yeah.
down the line? Was that sort of the case for you and for other young players? Is that sort of the
Yeah.
realization you got to have?
Yeah, it's definitely eye-opening as a younger player realizing the business aspect of it because you're a youth player, you've been involved in the national team, and everybody's just looking out for you. Kind of, if you're one of the better players on the team, everybody's going to treat you a certain way. But once you get into the professional scene where there's guys 10, 11 years older than you, sometimes 15, um,
Right.
you know, that doesn't matter anymore, and it's a business. It's about money and it's not always about business, but you have to learn that, and parents have to learn that. Players have to learn that. And like I said before, when you're so emotionally invested, it's not always, the easy thing to feel like it's almost hopeless sometimes where your situation may fall. But when you have that understanding that you're a young player, you have a lot of time to develop and grow. Sometimes it's easier to hit the brakes and see where you are, where you've made it. You've you know been able to sign and become a professional soccer player. Keep your head down and keep working, and things will pan out. But that first time where you want to do something and you're like, you gotta slow down a little bit, buddy. That first time hearing that is not fun. But I've realized it a lot more now, and I'm at peace with how this industry works at this point.
So you mentioned that it was a good bit of business for DC United as well. I believe that was their transfer record for you at the time. Is that correct? You were their, I think that's right,
Um,
or
I
near
think
it.
either me or Andy. I don't know. Maybe.
No, not from selling from St. Truiden. They're what they paid to DC United. I
Oh,
thought was
yeah.
their
It
club.
was what. I think. I don't think it was the record, but it was up there. Yeah.
That's a fun
Yeah.
that's a good validator when you're getting purchased. Like, well, clearly this is a team that doesn't normally want to spend transfer fees like this, and they've done it on me. So, talk a little bit about obviously your first half a year there. You were finding it challenging to get on the field. I know that after that, once you got the full transfer, you played a lot. Tell
Mhm.
me about sort of what the league changed about your game. Also, you're young and still growing up then, so you're growing into your frame and getting bigger and stronger too.
Yeah.
What was that? What was the progress like in that league for you?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was the first 6 months was difficult. The coach at the time, didn't really see a role for me. It felt like, and that happens. And then he eventually got fired, and the second team coach came in,
That
and
happens too.
that happened too. He gave me a chance right away, and I was really grateful for him because I feel like he kind of started my whole process over there. And yeah, I think Belgium as a whole, it taught me a lot, just about different styles of play. When you're a smaller team like St. Truiden, you're normally not going out there controlling the game. You're kind of sitting back in a pretty compact block and trying to get whatever result you can. Going to bigger teams that have way more money like Club Brugge and Genk, Antwerp. You really see the difference in those types of funding and all that. So that was eye opening, and the speed of play. There was a ton of running in that league overall. It just felt like up and down, and it was very physical. And then on top of all that, you add promotion and relegation, and my first full run of a season, when I was playing, we were towards the bottom, and that's pretty scary, because you're talking about if you get relegated, you take off a percentage of your pay. You're not really looked at too well amongst the fans,
Hmm.
and you really start to feel the pressure then. So that automatically puts more on yourself, and raises the expectations even higher on you for each game. because it matters so much.
Hey, this is John. I just wanted to take a quick minute to thank you for listening to the show. If you'd like to support our work and keep this train running on time, there's a couple of ways that you can support us. First, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/rfkrefugees. Any amount you'd like to give is great. Our Patreons will get the full audio of our shows on Monday night every week, a day or 3 days earlier than everyone else. You could also subscribe to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/rfkrefugees. You can either use your own money or utilize your one free monthly subscription if you have Amazon Prime. And lastly, you could buy merch. We have stickers and scarves available on rfkrefugees.com, and we'll have t-shirts available later this season. We love doing this show for you guys and appreciate all the support we've received over the years. Now, back to the show.
So all that was really great and taught me, a sense of urgency amongst games, how to get wins, how to time manage better, be more ruthless. And I think all of those were really important lessons to me.
Did you eat French fries with mayonnaise? Was that a thing that you tried?
I don't even think I did. I refused to.
I don't blame you.
Full-blown American.
I don't blame you. It's weird. I think I'm glad that you didn't. And you missed Hernan's time here, so you can answer this question. What was your favorite Belgian beer? Was it anything interesting, or was it like a mainstream?
I actually didn't even drink beer while I was over there either.
All right. Well, the mayonnaise and the fries thing for sure. I think we can agree on. Belgian beer's not too bad. Anyway. Something jogged my mind when you said sort of like about what St. Truiden was sort of set out to do based on their, the money they were spending and where they were in the table and everything else. What was the fan base there understanding and accepting of that was going to sort of have to be the way you'd play because of, the difference between Bruges and what you guys are able to spend? Or were they also being like, boy, I hope they also play attacking soccer. I'd really like to see them go up and down. Like what? I'm just trying to compare the American psyche from a fan base to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still confused to this day about it because, they were never happy when we lost. There was a bunch of whistling and a lot of people leaving the stadium right away after we lost the game at home, for sure. Expectations were still, I think it was a successful season when we stayed in the first division at that point, just based off of, the way the club was going. I'd had over 6 coaches when I was there. So there was a lot of, it was very indecisive at that time. And, that's another thing that I learned how to do was, make a good impression on the coach right away, which is important. And important here at DC United right now, too.
Yep.
The expectations were high amongst the team or amongst the fans in St. Truiden just because of the discontent I felt when we were losing and in relegation. So, I think it was interesting.
It's weird. Like you're wondering. You're playing. Like what? How do you find happiness as a fan here? Like, are you expecting us to win the league? Because I think you're going to be upset. That's not really our lot in life.
Yeah.
But I wonder that too. Because you've been here now for forever. So it's sort of the same thing here. Like you look at sort of like, all right, well, we're not going to spend like Seattle or Atlanta or New York City FC, and the league has parity, and anything can happen. And once you get in the playoffs, everyone's shooting for the same thing. But like. It's a challenge, and I think that the games lately really point to that too. Sort of fan reaction to even loss of points, just the way that the team is set out and the way that opportunities are being given to young players. It's sort of even in a last place season, it's still an exciting time for some DC United fans who have sort of like the calibrated expectations that we're talking about. Is there something that stands out from the on the field perspective? Obviously, maybe was it not being relegated and staying up? Was there a individual moment that stood out for you that really you're going to carry with you for your career?
Yeah, I mean, I scored a couple of goals over there, which were really exciting. Playing in derby games was exciting. Genk against St. Truiden. We won 2 of those, and that's where the fans really love you. I guess that's something that the fans really care about is the derby game against Genk. If you win that, they love you, and if you don't win that, there might be storming onto the field. So, but no, I really cherish the time I had there. I wasn't always super happy when I was over there, just because I was away from family and my girlfriend and everything. It was not easy, but I learned so much, and it really makes me more grateful being back here now, and finding that balance between really enjoying my soccer and seeing how the my off the field life impacts what is being put out on the field as well.
Sure.
So it was a really great learning lesson overall. Just even outside of soccer, visiting other countries around Belgium, because it's essentially located within Europe. Seeing all those different things was great as well.
So let's talk about the return and how it came about. What's what? Let's just talk about that. So obviously you're looking for a landing spot. I remember reading a couple interviews at the time, but walk our listeners through sort of how you came to be back here in Audi Field.
Yeah, I mean, it's a discussion with my agent about what we viewed as our next step. I felt that I needed to find something outside of St. Truiden, whether it be in the summertime or in the off season. Before after the Belgian season ended, I had one more year left on my contract, but I felt like that last year wouldn't have served me well, just for my mental sake and getting the most out of me. So we talked about Europe and opportunities there. We didn't feel like necessarily the next step was there just yet to go into the Bundesliga or maybe the championship. And we talked about maybe a return to the MLS, and then we focused all of our energy on that. And the whole process of coming back into the MLS is not very easy.
No.
And that was very confusing in itself to me. And then we found out that DC United may be interested, and it actually sounded. I didn't think initially. At first, for everything, that I was going to come back to the MLS. I thought I was going to be in Europe for a long time, and then hopefully make my hoorah back to the MLS. Years later. But everything panned out really well, and that's just goes to show as a young player, you never know. You can't really map out your path. Everything unfolds not how you expect. And I'm really happy with how it played out so far. The under 22 initiative within MLS really helped bring me back as well, and so that was a really lucky thing, because if I tried to come back next year, then it would be a lot different as well. So
that's the flip side of all the stupid machinations to go through to get acquisitions. That under 22 initiative enables you to get a salary that you're more comfortable with, that fits into the rosters. Some of the rules are dumb, but this one worked out. A lot of the
really,
we'll take that one.
Yeah.
What was the thing that you missed most about home that you did? Obviously, family aside, what was the thing that you're like, I could not get this over there. I'm gonna do this as soon as I get here. What was it?
I don't know. I just feel like going to a grocery store, even in America, is way better than in Belgium. Just the options available. I know it sounds small, but when you're over in Belgium for 2.5 years and there's not very many things to get there, it's just a stupid little small thing. But no, it's weird.
I spent less time overseas than you, and that was a similar, like 4 or 5 months, and I came back in grocery stores where it's comforting because you can read everything.
Yeah,
you know exactly what everything is. All the things you like are there. Yeah, it's great. So we talked about sort of, your progress on the field. What's changed for people who maybe are new to the Chris Durkin experience at DC United? What has changed about your game? And also, too, I think that goes with that, you've been pressed into a bunch of different positions already on the field for need, obviously, and also for maybe trying new styles with new coaches within a couple weeks. Where are you most comfortable? And I know you're not going to say I don't want to play there, but where do you feel you shine best? Where do you feel like your talents come through the most?
Yeah, I feel like I shine best at defensive mid, personally. That's where I think I get the most qualities out of myself with my passing range. And tackling and composure on the ball. But, like you said, there's been a lot of moving pieces so far since I've come back to DC United, new formations, tactics. And, I'm a guy that, I don't view myself as I put the team before the individual. And wherever the team needs me, I'll play. And, it's not always going to look the prettiest sometimes. Even more now in the MLS, you've seen that, sometimes when I'm out outside back, and you've got these super creative, skillful guys that are fast. It's not always the easiest either. So I'm learning and I'm trying my best in each position that's called upon me, and I think with this change of formation now, with the new structure with Wayne, everything will start to be panned out more and more. But I think you're seeing a new kind of soccer within DC United. We want to be on the ball more and control the game a little more, which I think will do better in the long run as well.
Yeah, I think you cannot hide at fullback in MLS, and I think that almost anytime you see somebody being played out of position, you're there like they're going to have a long day. This is going to be rough, just because. I mean, that's where all the speed and talent on the wings in MLS is a lot of times where teams will spend money. So that's really where you find your, you get found out a little bit.
Yeah.
Last question for you. Obviously, you talked about Wayne coming, the change in formation, the change in some philosophy. What's the mood in the locker room? I'm very curious on a team that is in. It's kind of a interesting dichotomy. The team is in last place. Points are hard to come by, but on the other side, you have all the optimism of Wayne Rooney being your new coach, and hopefully joining the sidelines on Saturday. Talk about additions and competition, which can sometimes be scary as a player, but also good overall. Going to probably improve your position, hopefully, and also the understanding that Wayne's here for a year and a half, plus maybe a year. A lot of these players that are coming in are also here for a year and a half, maybe. So like next year is it's all for all the marbles. The team is putting all the chips in for 2023.
Yeah.
What is it like going to work every day and doing training and playing sort of with all of those things in front of you?
Yeah, I think it's we're definitely a learning phase right now. A lot of people are learning a new formation that I don't think many people have played since we've as pros. It's a unique formation, and but I think when we get it down and we find all the parts in the right places, I think it'll be extremely effective. And I think everybody's optimistic about that as well. The way we want to play, finding, attacking with and, creative play, I think will be very exciting when we get it down. We look at our game against Columbus, the first ever time we played that formation. I thought it was really positive. In the first half, we created some good chances. The second half wasn't as good. We look at the Bayern Munich second half, competing against one of the best teams in the world. And that formation, I think, actually showed pretty well in that, creating, good chances. And, in the Montreal game we just played in, I still think we can get a point out of that as well, with the chances that we have. So, this is three or four games into the Wayne Rooney era with his new tactics, and it's not easy, midway through the season to get this understanding by playing in real MLS games and panning everything out. So we're trying our best, watching a lot of film. I've noticed that training sessions, the quality of it has risen a lot more. With a new competition coming in, people are checking their shoulder now, making sure that they're on their game, and that will, I think, lead to more wins, more points, and I'm very optimistic. I think that there's a base that we're going to start to set, where we'll be creating a lot more chances. Now it's just about figuring out how to let less goals in. So I'm optimistic, and I think the whole team is as well. We still believe in this year. Personally, I do. I know that the MLS, anything is possible, and we still have enough time. It's just about, can we all mesh together as quick as possible to make this work.
We talked to Jackson Hopkins last week, and I was like, man, this is like your third offensive system in 1 year, 3 coaches, 1 year. Like this is. He's like, I don't know, man. I just go out there. I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm just doing my best. I was like, yeah, well, you and a lot of other young players on this team. It's a lot like that. But Chris, to your point, I think I'm glad that the team is optimistic. I think a lot of the fans are choosing to be optimistic. I think basically anything is possible for the rest of this season. But even if not, I think everyone feels like this is good steps in the right direction to progress in 2023 and beyond. So I want to thank you for joining us, Chris, and I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to 9096. today. This is going to go out today on Tuesday to our Patreons, and it'll go out to everybody else later in the week. So if you want to get our interviews on the day they are completed, like literally minutes after I figure out how to transcribe this into a new file format, you get it. So patreon.com/RFK Refugees. Chris, thanks again. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well.